Welcome to the High Level Wife Podcast. This is a space for Christian wives who love God, want their marriage healed, and are done performing, fixing, striving, or trying to control their way to change. Here we're going to talk about marriage God's way through right order, surrender, heart posture, and spirit-led transformation. This is not self-help, it's discipleship. My name is Chelsey Holm, and my role is to help you move from awareness into obedience so real healing, wholeness, and restoration can take root. Let's begin.
Welcome back to the High Level Wife Podcast. I'm Chelsey Holm, your hostess, and here we do marriage God's way. And I'm excited about diving into this topic today because it's something that I've been having conversations with inside High Level Wife with the wives in there that it's coming out of this frustration of God doesn't answer every question, but it's actually more about the fact that we're not asking the right questions. We're asking the wrong questions. And that's the topic of today. You're asking the wrong question. So I recently had a wife, and I love this wife. I love her heart. She is drawing near to the Lord, and she's still struggling in the ins and out of every day, right? Just as we all do, in learning what it looks like to follow God with all our heart in every aspect of life. And so she asked me to pray because she had a deadline to decide whether her child would play a certain sport or not. And she shared her frustration because she felt like God wasn't answering her in it. Right? Like God's timeline is not ours. A day to him is like 1,000 days to us, or 1,000 years to us, and 1,000 years to us is like a day to him. He doesn't function. He is not limited to our timeline. And as I was praying over her, and I was thinking later and reflecting on the fact that, and the realization that I don't think God was silent here. I think actually what was happening is she was asking a foundation question while focusing on decorations. And so actually on today's High Level Wife Call, we were talking about this, that, God is focused on the foundation, but we often are asking God what color to paint the walls. But the walls haven't even been built yet because the foundation isn't finished yet, or the foundation isn't set yet or cured yet. We do this all the time by asking questions of like, God, should I move, or should I homeschool my kids, or should my kid play this sport, or should I quit my job? And none of those things are bad questions, and none of those things are bad things. So I don't want you to hear that. Many times it's actually about the good things that we miss the fact that God is working on the foundation. Because sometimes God isn't answering because he's actually asking. I think I just tried to put like 3 words together there. But okay, so let's rewind here. Words are hard. Podcasting is so fun when words are hard. No, I love podcasting. I truly do. This is one of my favorite things to do. Okay, so here's the thing. Sometimes God isn't answering, or it feels like he's not answering, because he's actually asking a deeper question. Matthew 6:25-34 says, "Seek first the kingdom of God and his righteousness, and all these things will be added to you." Notice the context here, that Jesus isn't talking about church attendance. He's talking about everyday life. Right? He's talking about things, food, clothing, tomorrow, practical needs. The disciples wanted answers, but Jesus gave them an order. Seek first. God often answers our questions by establishing our priorities, or revealing where our priorities are actually being carried out. Because the problem isn't lack of direction. We often think, if God would just tell me what to do, right? I've said that so many times in my life, like, God, just tell me what to do and I'll do it. But God's often saying, I'm showing you who to become. I'm refining you. I'm disciplining you. I'm training you. I'm pruning you. God is far more interested in forming your heart than solving your every decision. Why? And here's the thing I want you to hear most of all today, because a transformed woman makes different decisions than an anxious woman. Proverbs 3, 5-6. Everyone knows this verse. People put it on their walls, tattoo it on their bodies, right? Have it on signs, put it on bumper stickers. But how many actually live in full surrender and submission to it? Trust in the Lord with all your heart and lean not on your own understanding. In all your ways, acknowledge him, and he will make straight your paths. Trust comes before direction. Surrender comes before clarity. Abraham was told to leave this land and go to a land I have not yet told you yet. He had to trust the Lord. Surrender had to come before he was given clarity. He had to trust the Lord before he was given direction. So imagine you're building a house. This analogy I made on the High Level Wife calls it, and it hit home for so many, that the builder is pouring the foundation, right? While the builder is pouring in the foundation, you're asking where to hang family pictures, or you're debating on paint colors. You're shopping for pillows, pillows, right? And again, none of those are bad things. Those are good things. They're just premature. They're out of order. We often obsess over secondary decisions while neglecting the primary work God is doing in us. Why? Because it's the secondary decisions that are easier for us to control. When God is asking for our full surrender, and those things we don't have to even worry about because God will work them out. This is why God allows the wilderness. In Deuteronomy 8, 2 through 3, it says, remember the whole way that the Lord your God has led you these 40 years in the wilderness, that he might humble you, testing you to know what was in your heart. The wilderness wasn't a punishment. It was preparation. God wasn't trying to waste their time. He was revealing their hearts. He was teaching dependence on God, trust in God, obedience to God. Because here's why. God was taking them into a land that there would be giants that would need to be slain. It would take massive amounts of courage and full trust in the Lord that they did not yet have. Right? It's not loving of God to take us into a place where we are completely unprepared. He prepares us first. And not in the way that we can do it in our own strength and understanding, but he prepares our hearts first, teaching dependence and trust and obedience. Verse 3 of that Deuteronomy passage says, that man does not live by bread alone, but by every word that comes from the mouth of the Lord. The Israelites thought they needed bread, but God knew they needed dependence. They need to learn obedience. They needed to learn submission to him through Sabbath. They need to learn to trust him with the provisions of days 1 through 6 to sustain them for 7. This is why preparation matters, because everyone wants the promised land. I know I do. But few appreciate the wilderness. And many of us, we can't appreciate the wilderness until we're looking back. But that's why I'm so glad you're here and you're listening to this, because I have been through the wilderness. And I have the receipts to prove these things to you. But more important than my own experience, the receipts that are in the Old Testament with the Israelites. Right? Again, there are giants waiting, Jericho, battles, responsibility, influence, blessing. God prepares us privately before he entrusts us publicly. But here's the thing, we usually are not the same privately as we are publicly. There are inconsistencies there. It's these inconsistencies that God is disciplining out of us in the wilderness. Freedom without formation becomes destruction. Blessing without character becomes idolatry. Let's bring this in home to marriage here. So, wife, I know what you're asking. I know, because almost every wife that I've talked to asks the same thing, and I ask the same thing in my marriage so long. How do I get my husband to change? But you're missing what God is asking. God is asking, will you surrender? While you're asking, how do I improve communication? God is asking, do I have your heart? While you're concerned with asking, what decision should I make here, Lord? And getting frustrated that he's not answering. God's actually asking you, am I first? Looking back at Mary and Martha in Luke 10:38-42, Martha wasn't asking the wrong question because she was serving. She was focused on many things. But it was Mary that chose the one thing that was necessary, and right order always precedes right action. The one thing necessary makes sense of the many things. I'm going to say that again. The one thing necessary makes sense of the many things. But too often we focus on the many things and we can't see the one thing necessary. So before asking, what should I do? Instead, ask, am I seeking God first? Ask God directly, God, am I seeking you first? Am I surrendered to you? Am I abiding in you? Am I walking in obedience to what you've already shown me? Is there something you've already asked me to do that I'm delaying? Reveal it to me, God. Break me before you so that only you remain. Because often the next step isn't about more information, it's actually deeper obedience. God is not playing hide and seek with his will. I remember back in middle school, in youth group, it's my dad and my stepmom, actually, who were visiting in North Dakota this week. They were the youth group leaders at the time. I remember this one kid, he always asked the question, does God really care about what color socks I put on today? Since then, this man has actually walked away from the Lord, and very sad story. But I think it all ties back to that because he didn't believe, he didn't know who God actually is. And that's where that question was coming from, right? He was asking the same questions that you're probably asking today, of being concerned with the many things rather than being focused on the one necessary thing, and the many things take care of themselves. God is establishing your foundation. He's not withholding because he's distant. He's actually preparing you because he loves you. And the greatest gift God can give you isn't always another answer. It's becoming the kind of woman who seeks him first. Let me give you an example of this. It's probably a little premature, but I'm going to do it anyways. My husband called me today and said, hey, a different position came up for military. Here's what it is. Here's what it would entail. All the things, right? And I just, the whole time he was talking, just my spirit welled up in me because I know the gifts and talents that God has instilled in him. And I think it would be perfect for him. And God could do a mighty thing through him in this position. But old me would have been focused on, where are we moving? What does that mean for us? All of the many things, rather than focus on the one thing necessary and being able to support my husband as the Lord is leading him and using him. And letting my gifts complement his gifts, not compete with them. So let's wrap it back up here with Matthew 6:33. Seek first the kingdom of God and his righteousness, and all these things will be added to you. Not because God is giving you a formula for getting what you want. That's what the world does, and they'll charge you thousands for it. But it's because when he is truly first, everything else finally finds its proper place. So this week, before you ask God another question about your circumstances, ask him one about your heart. Lord, what foundation are you building in me before you answer the details I'm asking about? Because first things first, everything else is built on that foundation. I will see you on the next episode.
That was an awesome episode. If you want to go deeper and you really want someone to walk alongside you and to do it in community, then go join High Level Wife. And if you love this episode and it hit something deep within you, or you had that big aha moment, then share it with a friend. Leave a comment, give us a review. Honestly, it helps so much in pushing it out to the algorithm, and it is so appreciated. So keep coming back for more episodes where we do marriage God's way. I'll see you on the next one.